Because I do the things I should, to my brethren kind and good. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on, to reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on, till I reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on, till I reach the top somehow.
Okay, my Street Dog family, whenever you hear that theme song, you know it's time for another edition of Street Talk, and time for me to bid you a very pleasant night wherever you are on the globe. But certainly I know a whole lot of you are in St. Kitts and Nevis, and time for me to say good night to my Straight Talk family and my family throughout the entire Caribbean region as well. I bid you good night. There are a whole lot of you on the World Wide Web. Some of you are in Africa, in the Kittian and Division diaspora, in Asia as well, in Europe, and right here in North America. So I am at liberty to say good night. I can say good morning, or I can also say good afternoon, because one of such greetings would be applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. Perhaps on a short vacation, oh no, perhaps we're just all locked down. That's just preaching faith, that someday, sometime soon, we'll free up all those restrictions and we can be able to go back to St. Kitts on a short vacation without a quarantine, no restrictions. But here's what, let's just keep hope alive. Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, you do have a forum to express yourselves freely. Let's in the process continue to keep St. Kitts and Nevis as one of the freest countries in the entire world. On this program, we try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liburd, and I give Almighty God thanks for blessing me with yet another opportunity to join you in conversation on yet another occasion. And before I forget, I want to extend birthday greetings to Paulette Samuel and to my good friend, my brother from another mother, Bungu, who celebrated some days ago. Both of you, I wish you belated happy greetings. And there's some others who celebrated as well and are celebrating today. We wish you many more birthdays to come. And tonight, my Straight Talk family, I'm going to focus a little bit of the day-to-day table talk COVID matter, because I'm convinced that in due course we'll all accept that we have to live with this virus, and we'll come to our senses and do the things that are right to protect ourselves. But I want to reflect a little bit on the United Nations high-level week on to November the 12th, 2021. Notwithstanding that, before I move to that, the theme for the general debate of the 76th session of the General Assembly was building resilience through hope to recover from COVID-19, rebuild sustainably, respond to the needs of the planet, respect the rights of people, and revitalize the United Nations. That was the theme, and many leaders of 193 countries contributed to the debate under that particular theme. Our own Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, made his presentation on Friday night, Friday last, just going on to 9 o'clock. I know what the presentation that was. But COP26 is the 2021 United Nations Climate Change Conference. And for nearly 3 decades, the United Nations has been bringing together almost every country on earth for global climate summits called COPs, which stands for the Conference of the Parties. In that time, climate change has gone from being a fringe issue to a global priority. This year will be the 26th annual summit, giving it the name COP26. As I said, it takes place in Glasgow. To understand why it's necessary to look back at another COP, I want to reflect on the importance of the Paris Agreement, and that's COP21, which took place in Paris in 2015. And for the first time ever, something momentous happened. Every country agreed to work together to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees and aim for 1.5 degrees to adapt to the impacts of a changing climate and make money available to deliver on these aims. The Paris Agreement was born. The committee to aim for 1.5 degrees is important because every fraction of a degree of warming will result in the loss of many more lives, and many more lives will be lost and livelihoods will be damaged. Under the Paris Agreement, countries committed to bring forward national plans, setting out how much they would reduce their emissions, known as nationally determined contributions, or NDCs. Ironically, our emissions in St. Kitts and the Caribbean, for that matter, are negligible, yet we are party to that agreement. I was there with Prime Minister Harris in Paris in 2015 when he affixed his signature to COP21, or the COP21 agreement. But if you look at our own nationally determined contributions, or NDCs. I believe it can be found in our national energy policy. And the national energy policy, which was adopted in 2015 when the Team Unity administration came into office. We also amended the Energy Supply Act as well. I think that was in 2017. But the key provisions of the St. Kitts Nevis National Emergency Policy include connecting large-scale independent power providers, beg your pardon, and many distributed renewable energy systems to the electrical grid. However, the National Energy Policy requires that all suppliers procure a license before generating electricity. Now, the 2015 electricity rates for St. Kitts and Nevis were just about 26 cents per kilowatt hour. It has not moved much, and it's lower than the Caribbean regional average of 33 cents per kilowatt hour. Like many island nations, St. Kitts and Nevis is still heavily reliant on fossil fuel, diesel, as we say colloquially, for electricity generation, leaving us vulnerable to global oil price fluctuations that directly impact the cost of electricity. The government still subsidizes, as I speak this moment, the fuel charge, or as we call it, the fuel surcharge for residential customers, partially shielding that sector from price volatility. If we look at the data, the St. Kitts Electricity Company's KELEC was formed in 2011, formerly the St. Kitts Electricity Department, and it serves all of St. Kitts. It was established under the Companies Act, and one former minister said it's a private company owned by government. He hasn't changed that. But really, I think he was trying to say the only subscriber to that particular company is the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. The Nevis Electricity Company Limited, NEVLEC, was formed in 2000 as a subsidiary of the Nevis Island Administration and serves all of Nevis. But the key provisions of the St. Kitts and Nevis National Energy Policy, NEP, include connecting large-scale independent power providers and many distributed renewable energy systems to the electrical grid. However, the policy requires, as I said, that all suppliers procure a license before generating electricity, and the license cannot, underline, cannot exceed 25 years, which should accommodate nearly all renewable energy technologies, even though some can have a longer usable lifetime, energy efficiency, and renewable energy projects. Now, we have a large geothermal resource and moderate to high wind and solar resources in St. Kitts and Nevis. So we have sufficient renewable energy resource potential to meet some, if not all, of our current and future electricity needs. The former administration was plenty talk, but little action, and played politics with electricity. But my straight dog family, that was then, and this is now. Remember, under the former administration, the issue or the talk of Speedtech. How many of us remembered Speedtech, my Straight Dog family? And Speedtech was a company that created much debate, and till this day we haven't heard the real facts about Speedtech. But remember this? Let's see, let's get this going. Let's get this going, my Straight Dog family. Now, sorry for that. I think we can get this
Speedtech
going
Energy
now.
Company of Taiwan, for choosing St. Kitts as the place where they're going to put their investment dollars, to the tune of $1 million US so far. It helped, of course, that there was already a project at Speedtech Energy 1 at the RLB Bradshaw Airport site for producing solar energy on behalf of SCASPA and the Ministry of Energy. It will help even more if Speedtech can generate other local business. Here we have now in St. Kitts, located here, a company that can in fact bring real solutions to renewable energy options, and hopefully will have the capacity to deliver locally and internationally.
Well, hopefully they'll have the capacity to deliver locally and internationally. But Speedtech should have constructed a solar farm at the RLB. Ask yourselves, what has become of that solar farm? Is it operational? Speedtech put a solar farm just off the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. Ask yourselves as well, what has become of that particular solar farm? Is it operational? But the opportunities for clean energy transformation is full of potential in St. Kitts and Nevis, because we are blessed with wind, we are blessed with sunshine, and we are blessed with 2 volcanoes. So there should be absolutely no need to worry about moving into renewable energy. Absolutely none. But I want to say, my Straight Dog family, and I'll say this tonight because I believe that some of the things I will say tonight will displease some people, and for that I apologize. I apologize if I say things that will displease some people. But I always, and I will always have difficulty in massaging the truth here on Straight Talk. And the truth is, I do not believe that some people inside and outside of the public sector have an appetite to adapt, diversify, and recreate, which was our theme for Independence 38. I say that again. The truth is, I do not believe that some people inside and outside of the public sector have the appetite to adapt, diversify, and recreate for Independence 38. And I'll tell you why. Now, the National Energy Policy, which was approved by Cabinet in 2015. The National Energy Policy intended to clarify the position of the government of St. Kitts and Nevis regarding the nation's or the federation's energy development, and has as its vision that St. Kitts and Nevis will be fully reliant on renewable energy for electricity production by the year 2020. Yes, 2020. In hindsight, where we are today. SCELEC was mandated to improve operational efficiencies and to deliver an even improved quality of service then, now, and in the future. In the meanwhile, it continues to incur additional operational costs, yet maintains its current rates. The need for citizens and commercial consumers to adopt energy conservation practices and for renewable energy to become part of the mix of alternatives cannot therefore be overemphasized at this point in time, and a matter of fact at any point in time. What are the benefits that can be derived? And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell you that. There are many benefits which can accrue from the use of renewable energy, such as a reduction in the fossil fuel, thus eliminating the drastic fluctuations in oil prices. Currently, SCELEC is dependent upon petroleum products for its energy production, and this is marked by fluctuating prices and sometimes a less reliable supply chain. Another benefit that can be accrued from the use of renewable energy: cost savings and general savings in foreign exchange. Now, SCELEC's financial year runs from 1st of August to 31st of July. And let us glance at the financial years 2015 to 2016, 2016 to 2017, and 2017-2018. Would you believe, over those years, the amount spent to purchase fuel by SCELEC was $47,622,700 in 2015 to 2016. The following financial year, it spent $60,961,977 in 2016 to 2017. And believe it or not, between 2017, beg your pardon, and 2018, SCELEC spent $78,591,060. Therefore, as part of the current electricity tariff, it is expected that once the fuel price rose above $7.30, the excess costs will be automatically passed to the customers as a fuel variation charge, as we call it, a fuel surcharge. But starting November 2017, the fuel surcharge, which should have been charged as a result of the rising cost of fuel, has been absorbed by SCELEC. Back then, to date in 2018, and I understand it's grown. I haven't seen those figures. I don't know those figures, but these figures go back to 2018. Over $16 million had to be absorbed by Skellig. Initially, discussions were held with the PDC, JVC, that's the Venezuelan joint venture company, to grant funding of this amount. But recent developments in Venezuela still has had that on hold. Thus, the government have not, or will eventually absolve, will therefore be able to absolve itself. Once that is done, from the shock of rising oil prices, and will be able to deliver best electricity price to consumers once we have that renewable energy approach. Renewable energy as well derives benefits from reduced maintenance costs. For the period August 1st, 2018 to February 20th, 2019, Skellig spent over $3.7 million on maintenance of its engines. Over $3.7 million, like $4 million. Now, my Stray Dog family, believe it or not, examples of mechanical failures are well known. As a matter of fact, I recall in 2017, over there in Nevis, the general manager of Nevis issued a press release during a period of load shedding, which said in part, and I quote, "As per past reports, aging infrastructure has now rendered 3 of our main sets out of commission. On a more positive note, we are pleased to announce," it continues, "that recently procured 3.85 megawatt Wärtsilä engine has begun to arrive on the island with 15 containers arriving on Tuesday, May 30, 2017. And my brothers and sisters in Nevis will remember this. But this is a situation that no utility wants to find itself in, but one which can easily become a reality given our scarcity of resources and the inherent need to rely on generating sets which have long passed their useful lives. So it must be incumbent upon Skellig to put plans in place now and do so expeditiously in order to avoid a similar predicament. And when we look at the demand versus supply, if you look at the age capacity of generating sets at the Nevis power plants, things have not changed. There's a Mobile Cat 1. It's by now, I think it's 3 years old. So to Mobile Cat 4, Mobile Cat 2, and Mobile Cat 3. 3 were functional at 1.5 megawatt capacity. There's a G12, age 8 years old, the 3.9 megawatt capacity, and the G14 at 8 years old with a 3.9 megawatts capacity. But it goes up. G10, 9 megawatts. Sorry, 9 years old. Beg your pardon, 3.9 megawatts. And 4 other 3.9 megawatts, 9 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old, and 12 years old, respectively. But believe it or not, the prototype expensive to main Merle's Blackstone, 20 years old. A G9, 32 years old. And that's part of the installed capacity of 44.9 megawatts with an available capacity of 33.4 megawatts. So, my people, what about those projects coming on stream? The Ross University, or the Chinese condos down there at Ross? The Koi Resort just come on board. The Imperial Bay Beach Resort, which should come on board. Ramada. All these would increase demand. And demand, it is said, by 2025 will be an additional needed 14.2 megawatts. So the expected peak demand will move by 2025, if all goes to plan, some 35.7 megawatts. So what is Skelec doing? Its overhauls. We'll go into that, and we trust and hope, because we remain fortunate that we did not have to start load shedding, but we are precariously close to doing so. We would not wish for such a situation, but the reason why we have to invest in renewables instead of generating sets. As a matter of fact, the last estimates in 2019, at the end of the 2017-2018 financial year, showed that about $65 million would be needed to purchase new generators. Does Skelec have the necessary capital and financing to do so? What's the answer? No? If it's no, then they will require a government guarantee to cover such a procurement. Now, let me conclude, my stray dog family. Given the number of housing projects which are expected and continue to come online very soon, as well as new commercial developments such as hotels and condominiums being built, and yes, we'll turn around after COVID-19. I am certain that we will turn around and the focus will be right back on electricity. So I ask the question, why is the solar farm that should produce 35 megawatts, why is it not being commissioned? That solar farm, the ground was broken to introduce that project. And we must not be silent on it, because in December 2020, this is what happened up there at Nevis.
To the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, what does it really mean? It means that we will power your homes in the night with solar energy, your air conditioners, your tourist resorts, your hotels, your businesses. We will do so in a way that Le Creuset and his investment partners, we will fund the complete project. In other words, Skelec will not to put any upfront capital investment. The people of St. Kitts and Nevis get access to clean, green energy without Skelec putting any upfront capital investment.
Is that with the solar, which will produce, a significant amount of the energy for the island, somewhere between 30 and 35%, along with the battery, which allows us to basically create a base load capacity and use that power into the evening and even overnight as necessary. We'll integrate the system with Skellig so that it's seamless in terms of the operations. When and if there's ever any issues with generation from Skellig, we can step in with immediate backup power from the battery system. We'll also be able to provide what's called load balancing, and keep the load of the island, the frequency, and the kind of technical aspects very calm and consistent. The battery does a very good job of that. So these are some of the advantages that we're adding technically to the generation fleet here at.
So, the question is, do we have money to run or to develop these resources? No matter what you hear, those misleaders would say about the investment by a foreign company. Long ago, they tried speed tech, they tried all sorts of things. They had troubles.
Look at what we are doing with regard to electricity. It is still something that troubles me. It troubles me.
But what troubles me is the fact that there's a silence, there's a conspicuous silence about our renewable energy development as we move into COP26. And I say the process of change and transformation in the electricity sector must be a public process. Let us hear what is happening to our renewable energy development. That is my story tonight, and you better believe it. I'll come back and tell you a little more, but I've tarried long, and I'm going to invite your comments and tell me whether investing in renewable energy is a good investment. Would simply mean we would not need products from the oil companies like some people, those fossil fuel advocates on the island. And someday you'll know who they all are. But it's 8:40, it's 20 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. I'll open the lines and entertain your calls and entertain your emails. When I do so, which I'll do in a couple of minutes, I anticipate that you will respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to our concern. Let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us ensure that the things we say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in doing and saying those things, let us try to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. Remember, the numbers are 465-2555 and or 718-577-2916. Let's talk energy tonight, and perhaps issues you think are of maximum importance as well. What is happening to our renewable energy program? Why does it seem to me from a distance it's on hold? At 9 o'clock, I will go to the lines. I'll entertain your calls, entertain your emails. Caller, you're live.
Thank you, Brother Patches. I am so glad that this topic has been raised and this concern has been raised. I am going to put myself on the world stage to make this comment. This problem with energy has been solved since 2005. And I'm going to tell you what. I had a dream, and for real, it worked. The energy crisis solved. But you see, the knowledge of people, some people has not present themselves. I'm going to present myself, and I put myself on the line right now. And by the way, you know who's speaking. Listen, I'm going to give you a puzzle, and you're going to solve it. Electricity, in any shape or form, is simple. Okay? There were a lot of ingredients tried to provide electricity, and it boils down to 4 common apparatus. And it goes from the smallest device that is exist and what is to come in the future. Okay? Let me give you an idea. Electricity can run electricity. Fossil fuel, gasoline, diesel, ethanol, even solar is nowhere near what I'm talking about. Okay? I have developed a model, and I tried to get funding, and I had demo. Okay? And I was proud to be a Kititian to travel with this device to get funding, and I did not get it. Okay? And I'm going to upset the oil men. I'm going to upset everyone because I was told that we could be killed. Okay? But I have the knowledge, and I still have the blueprint. Let me tell you, all electricity needs is a generator, regardless of how much megawatts. If you can get a megawatt, advancing to how far you can go. Okay? All you need is wires, a battery, and a generator. Some say stator, some say alternator. It's still the same thing. Okay? No fuel, like I said. Okay? Electricity run electricity, and all electricity need to be is rotation. The more RPM, rotation per minute, that's how much your electricity. And you build to the specification for how much watts and voltage. Okay? Now we're talking about a big scale. Okay? 4 ingredients. Again, alternator, battery, wires, and distribution, and self-replenish. Okay? I'm going to boast about that because I'm proud and I know what I'm talking about. So whosoever is hearing me, they better call me or find me, and I'll demonstrate that model. Electricity run electricity. We don't need all these wires, all these lamp poles. They are obsolete. Obsolete. Every household can have their own electricity, and I'm not talking about generators. I'm not talking about those, anything that depend on fossil fuels. Electricity run electricity. Okay? I'm going to touch base with St. Kitts. There are times, you see that Cully Street gut and all the guts that is in St. Kitts? All those can develop a hydro plant. Okay? Rain falls seasonally. Okay? That's another thing I'm going to touch. But it's still going to boil to the basic that I mentioned. The battery, the alternator or the generator, the wires, and your distribution point. But the hydro, we could develop a hydroelectricity in St. Kitts too. Okay? Because all you need is a turbine and a gigantic force of water, and you could capture that water, and the electricity that generates from those turbines can put electricity to another turbine for pumping and for distribution. I'm not going to reveal everything because I want it to be patent. It's not patent, but I put the clue out there. It's a matter of how it's going to be wired to generate electricity on a wide scale. I didn't went to any university.
Okay.
But common sense. So I leave that.
You, my brother.
It is true. I'm talking true.
Okay, I'm afraid we're not doubting you at all, but I had us a little on a higher plane there. But let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live.
Patches.
My brother.
This is the major. How are you?
How is the major tonight?
Well, I can tell you now. I can tell you how big tonight.
How peaceful.
I want to take my time to give you this thing here. Listen me quite clearly. Listen your partner quite clearly. How you been using the word hope for the whole, not for the whole night, for tonight. And what I'm going to say to you, because I was studying it all the time, so I just went in my books here and just started to do some evaluation. Well, you know that progress comes from making people sit up when they want to sit down. Progress comes from making people sit up when they want to sit down. Hope, as you were using, and many people use that. Hope see the invisible, feel the intangible, and achieve the impossible. Now, you know, invisible is when you speak about invisible, is not able to see with the eye. Intangible is difficult for the mind to grab, and impossible is not able to be done or happen. So all I am saying to you that in the trade union, that is the reference that trade unions use. But a American president had one time said that hope is a waking dream. So let me hear you on these three things: invisible, intangible, and impossible. As I tell you, invisible you can't see with the eye. Intangible is difficult for the mind. And impossible is not able to done or happen. Carry on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Major. But hope is what they call a feeling of expectation. You know, so we expect things would change, especially coming out of our independence, like we said, adapt, diversify, and recreate. And we are saying that we talk about climate change, but we must build resilience in our energy sector. We have to. We have no choice. And somebody has to tell the public. Skellig has an obligation to the public to tell the public what has or is there something wrong with that project. That project was approved by cabinet in 2019. That's 2 years ago. Yes, we can argue that COVID came, but what is going on? Why are we not building resilience in the public sector? Is there change? What is the change? Somebody must tell us. Somebody must tell us when we should move, or when we are going to move away from this fossil fuel. Yes, we have to, because some people, I believe, do not believe or don't have the appetite, as I said, to adapt, diversify, and recreate. Caller, you are live.
Good evening, Mr. Liburd.
Good evening, my dear brother.
How are you, sir? Okay.
I am peaceful. Yourself?
Well, not bad at all. Not bad at all. Enjoying COVID to the max. Haven't got it, but enjoying it. Have no choice.
Lockdown?
No, not lockdown at all. Not lockdown at all. Some of these projects, you know, they're planned, and when they come to implementation, they do identify further problems that might not have been part of the plan. Let me give you an example. Since about 2006, Nevis has been talking about thermal energy. Up to now, they have got it going, because these things do take a while. Some years ago, we had something called North Star that was supposed to be a windmill farm out in the Tabernacle area. I don't know what became of that, but that died. So having solar systems, massive solar systems that we're talking about, yes, they've been placed on the pattern world, but the technology is changing so rapidly that there will be changes that are going on to the plans, which are creating delays and that sort of thing. I don't know. But being a farmer engineer, I know that sort of things do happen halfway through the planning process, or just about when you're ready to start implementing. you find things are not what you thought they ought to be. But it would be nice to have this thing up and running. And I just hope when they do it, that they build it in such a way to withstand Category 4 and Category 5 hurricanes, because that could be a major disaster for St. Kitts in that respect. But let us wait and see. Let us hope it is not anything too major, which is stopping this project from going ahead, because we have heard about other projects too, non-fuel projects, such as both St. Kitts and Nevis. We heard of waste-to-energy projects, generating electricity from waste. Both Nevis and St. Kitts were planning to do that. That has not materialized either. So give it some time. I'm sure it will happen, because it is something that is needed, and it will benefit the country immensely when it is put in place. And we may find that we may have to put down more than one solar farm. But if the solar equipment has been changing rapidly, because you find that after a period of years, these things do burn out. Maybe they don't last as long as the Merleys that they have up at the generating plant. So all of this new technology coming into play may have put the designers back to the drawing board. So let's see what happens. Have a good night, man.
Question? Okay, I was trying to ask a question because I don't know if he's happy with the silence. If there are changes, then John Public ought to know, because I am aware that the due diligence was done. You know, all the I's and the T's were crossed. So somebody ought to tell us what is happening with this major project, because those generators, many have passed their lifespan, the major ones at least. Caller, you're live.
Hello.
Yes, caller.
Good night, how are you?
I am peaceful. Yourself?
Who going to ball for me when they see me lights bill? Is you all got them there still inside? I want to change something. Mr. Liburd, last week was the opening of the houses. I hear you was here. I did not see you. Mr. Hamilton and the Prime Minister had a good speech about you. That's who for you, not who nobody vote for and turn away who you give work. And your opponent had the last speech, did not mention nothing about you. Let them watch what you do and what they do to you. Don't worry, Patches do that. Who you wanted to get the houses, get straight talk. Say hello to your wife, straight talk. Get home safely.
Sounds like Alice in Wonderland. I was not there though. Well, I wasn't there physically, I must say. I may have been there spiritually, but I was not there at all. But my straight up family, it's 4 before 9 o'clock. And we are, as I said, going into COP 26. And the caller before made mention of the wind farm. And this is what the former leader had to say about wind energy.
Turbine project down in the area of Bellevue. I think the negotiators, I am told, the investors and developers, I'm told, are very close to finalizing that particular initiative. But we believe that it has gone on far too long. And we are at the point of maybe looking at other possibilities in this area, because this has taken quite a long time to be concluded.
And that was the wind energy. According to the former leader, it was taking a long time to come on stream, my words. So they looked elsewhere. But we don't want to be like the non-implement type of government like our former administration. We know the issue as it relates with the shortfall between generation and demand for electricity. You know, Skellig is exposed to mechanical failures when you look at the disposition of the generating sets up there in Nevis. And these are issues some people may not want to talk about. But we have to talk the issues. And some people may not like and may find themselves some displeasure in talking the truth. But the truth is, as I said, people inside and outside of the public sector do not seem to have the appetite to adapt, do not seem to have the appetite to diversify and recreate. And this was our theme for Independence 38. And we have to, my straight dog family, we have to become adjusted to new conditions. We have to reorganize, we have to diversify as an economy and as a people. And the theme, as I said a few days ago, and I had the opportunity to speak, the theme for Independence 38, in my view, helps us as citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis to focus on national wellness and economic rejuvenation. It prepares us for challenging times with which we are faced today. Taking into consideration the global environment crisis, the COVID-19 pandemic, and a local economy that is heavily dependent upon tourism and other external influences. And if this pandemic has taught us anything, it even mentioning the United Nations Secretary General, who reminded us that this time is the most challenging time or period in world history. Because working through a pandemic is not an easy task. Less than 10 years to implement the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs 2030. And these are ambitious goals: to end poverty in all its forms everywhere, to end hunger, achieve food security, and of course take action to address climate variability. And climate change is affecting every country on every continent. It is disrupting national economies and affecting our lives, and we must address it. We have built resilience in infrastructure. Let us now look at building resilience in the energy sector, and sometime I'll come back to water as well. We talk about conservation, but if you don't have water, what is there to conserve? But I'll come back to that at some other time. Let's go back to the lines at 9:01. Call you live.
Yeah, 9:01. Me again. I didn't hear your question. Sorry that I maybe cut you off or something. Do apologize for my bad manners. But these world climate conferences, COP and that kind of thing, I find they're just talk shops, because there are some countries in the world that have really done a lot to cut back on their CO2 emissions. And there are others that have done absolutely nothing, have in fact worsened it. I'll give you an example. China, for example. China has not, in my view, and from my studies, have not done anything at all to help. And they expect to be treated as a developing country and to be subsidized. I'll give you an example. China in 2020 installed more coal-operated generators at home in China than the rest of the world put together. And coal generating plants, as you know, generate an awful lot of CO2 gas. Everyone is trying to cut back on coal-operated generating plants, and China is producing them like water. Not only that, you find that the oceans are filled with muck dumped into them by the Chinese. Yes, they have 1.7 billion people, but they must find a way of controlling their muck. We don't dump we dump stuff into the sea, yes, some our people do, but it's not as a policy. But we have solid waste. I imagine they have some sort of solid waste too. But the amount of stuff that they put out there is damaging for the world. You have islands of muck sailing all around the Indian Ocean and coming over into the Atlantic Ocean and that sort of thing. So until we get China to clean up its act and cut back on emissions, I think we're wasting our time. With no sense talking. We have got to go down to China and put some pressure on them, economic pressure or something of this sort, to make them cut back on their emissions. And that alone will help to reduce the temperatures, because yes, the world is getting hotter and we must be concerned about that. But there are some major offenders and China is the top one. Thanks a lot, and I'm not going to stop again for the rest of the night. That's a promise.
Thanks a lot for your input, interventions that are instructive as well. And yes, you're right in terms of our CO2 gas emissions, but the fact is, yes, we in this region literally don't contribute to the emissions, but we suffer the most as coastal states, as a small island development state. We are susceptible to hurricanes, floods. You saw what happened here in the St. Kitts many years ago with the rain coming down College Gut and took cars and things. One died, if more than one person died. We see the issues of sea level rise, which affected, is still affecting our coastal areas. We look at the coastal revetment that should have been done some time ago across Irishtown Bay and Fort Lands, and we've addressed that issue at Old Road Bay. The sea level rise has increased the salt intrusion in our water supply, there at the well field. So we are feeling the impact, right, from this climate change or climate variability, and we have to do things to prepare ourselves. We have to build resilience, as I said, in the water sector. We have to build resilience in the energy sector, and we just have to prepare ourselves, even though, yes, China and others are guilty of these wrongs, if I can say. I remember we started in 2017. We actually revised the St. Christopher Electricity Supply Act, which came into force in 2011, and we amended the act to include the renewable energy sector. We talk about geothermal. What happened to geothermal? There are some people who talk about foreigners investing, but you have to build partnerships. The 3P approach is something that is nothing new to St. Kitts. I don't know if you're aware, even the Port Zante, I don't know if at the time when it was being constructed, if those in authority knew. That was in fact qualified as a PPP approach, where the private sector invested and the government was part of it through the seabed leases and so on to facilitate that project. And we have a Port Zante which reclaimed land. But why invest in renewables instead of new generating sets? Yes, if there are issues, if there are things that change, I am saying, then the public must know. The last estimates received by Skelec, or from Skelec, some years ago, for the purchase of new generating sets or new generators was approximately $61 or $65 million. Does Skelec have that necessary capital that's needed to finance that procurement? And you have to ask the question, would it require a government guarantee to cover such procurement? Does government have that appetite? So why not? Why not entertain a project that needs no capital outlay from the government? 70 million US dollars. That's in fact almost $200 million to make us energy efficient, to bring down the cost of electricity for the ordinary man. Remember what happened. And we've had this electricity problem for a long time. And understand that this is what's happening now.
They cannot cut you off for any arrears before 2011 August. You have time to pay that 3 years. So when you go tell them, separate your bill. What is your arrears before 2011 and what is your arrears after August 2011?
And we had that issue of electricity arrears. And yes, there was what's it called, moratorium for COVID. I understand that the moratorium is up, but should we look at giving people some comfort, some arrangement, extending your DPA or something? Something has to be done, because we are in real difficult times. Difficult times, I admit. The use of solar energy source can lead to fluctuations and intermittency in supply, one would admit, as a result of the environmental factors such as cloud cover, for example. But this project that I am aware of incorporates battery storage, which would greatly reduce the intermittency and allow for the supply of energy even after nightfall. So then the onus, the burden is on the supplier to provide a stable and reliable supply of energy. And this is essential, as Skelec does have a peak demand in the evening, and this, I understand, will be covered. So if there's a difference, then we ought to be told about it. We not be also, as I said, remember that the process of change must be a very public process. Change and transformation must be a public process, and there must be no place to hide. The truth must be told to all, and those in the public sector must tell us what are the issues. But my Straight Dog family, it's 11 minutes past 9 o'clock, and if you just joined me, we looked at energy development, renewable energy development in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we were in fact reflecting a bit on the issues as it relates to COP26 that comes up in the UK in the next couple of months. Now, the interconnection or rather the 15 Caribbean states are almost entirely, the CARICOM states, I should say, are almost entirely dependent on imported oil and gas. It is estimated that up to 95% of commercial energy consumed in the CARICOM region is derived from fossil fuels, primary oil or diesel oil. And that figure represents about 90 million barrels of oil equivalent per year. And CARICOM countries are essentially net importers of crude oil and refined products, with the exception of Trinidad and Tobago and to a lesser degree Belize. And we've heard what has happened in terms of the oil find in Guyana, but largely because of extra regional sources. CARICOM member states experienced the strong negative economic effects stemming from increasing international demand for petroleum and rising petroleum prices. In order to counteract these effects, we recall that in 2004, CARICOM established a petroleum civilization fund, and certain member states signed the Energy Cooperation Agreement with Venezuela, the Petro-Carib Agreement. We, in fact, signed that, we meaning St. Kitts and Nevis, signed that agreement. Within the Petro-Carib Energy Cooperation Agreement, provisions were made to allow member countries to purchase oil on preferential financing terms, I should say. The price of the world markets increased over time, and so has the value of Petro-Carib loans to importing countries. And Petro-Carib became the single largest source of concessionary finance to the Caribbean region. Petro-Carib credits between 2005 to December 2007 alone amounted to $1.17 billion, and this reached to almost $4.5 billion by 2015. So we in St. Kitts and Nevis, when we got into office, under the Petro-Carib agreement, or under that arrangement between the Republic of the Bolivian Republic of Venezuela, over $200 million were owed by the then government because they never paid. And our country, our new government, had in fact to pay. So investing in renewable energy would simply mean we would not need products from these oil countries and oil companies on the island. It's as simple as that. We would use our own resources, and we have our own resources, and that is the solution. We have wind, we have sun, and we have volcanoes. What has become of geothermal, for example? We have heard not much about it. But do we have the money to develop these resources? I say emphatically no. That's why we had to go to companies like Leclanche, Switzerland-based company with a heritage of over 100 years in battery and energy storage. And this company has come to us, or came to us, as a matter of fact, and entered with an agreement with Skelec, a power purchase agreement that took us, or will take us, some 25 years, or 20 years I think it was. But again, it goes back to our nationally determined contributions as I intimated earlier under the Paris Agreement. And the key provisions of St. Kitts and Nevis, and I refer to our NDC as our National Emergency and National Energy Policy, I should say, include connecting large-scale independent power providers and many distributed renewable energy systems to the electricity grid. However, our national energy policy requires that all suppliers procure a license before generating electricity, and the license cannot exceed 25 years, which should accommodate nearly all renewable energy technologies, even though some can have a longer usable lifetime. Now, the clean energy policy, which is the key provisions of the St. Kitts and Nevis National Energy Policy, includes connecting large-scale power providers and many distributed renewable energy systems to the grid. With a large geothermal resource and moderate to high, I should say, wind and solar resources, St. Kitts and Nevis has sufficient renewable energy resource potential to meet some or all of its current and future needs. We do have that. It has an average wind speed of some 6.6 meters per second to 7.9 meters per second. The solar resources average 5 kilowatts per square meter, and both grid-powered induction lighting and solar-powered street lights are now in place along roadways in St. Kitts. And a 7 megawatt waste-to-energy plant was discussed at one time since 2015. So we are asking, why are these renewable energy-related projects not taken towards the end? We heard, as I said before, under the former administration of SpeedTech, and we know what happened to SpeedTech. Is this not a SpeedTech? Of course not. But I believe if we add renewable energy to the grid, if we look at connectivity or interconnectivity, is another way to examine it. But within, as I mentioned earlier, the Petro-Carib Energy Cooperation Agreement, provisions as well have been made to allow member countries to purchase oil on preferential financial terms. But these prices on the world markets, they are up, they are down. We need to get away from that and focus on renewable energy and focus on solar. Focus on wind. Focus on geothermal. We know geothermal has had its own legacy issues, but we have to really move this process forward, and now is the time, because when we rebound after COVID-19, we must rebound and find ourselves in a strong position, economic and otherwise, because all these hotel projects, which we trust and hope will come on stream, then and only then we will find how important it is to have energy, reliable energy. Because if it's not renewable, then you have to go into fossil fuel generators. Do we want to go there? No. That's not where the country wants to go and ought to go. But that's my view, as I said, on renewable energy. And I'm asking you, what do you think about this particular form of energy, and whether we shouldn't focus more on this? We cannot wait until those generators collapse. We cannot afford to spend millions of dollars on fossil fuel generators. But that's my view, and only my view. And I believe that a reduction in the use of fossil fuel will eliminate the drastic fluctuation in prices. I believe that when you look at the data, Skelec has spent millions and millions of dollars on procurement of fuel. It is time we now use our own resources, the wind, the solar, and where possible geothermal, to reduce that cost, get that cost saving, supply cheaper electricity to consumers, because at the end of the day, what matters most is the electricity will come down, must come down. And we have the opportunity to prove that we can do it. So let us do it. Do not come like the former, who when he saw this bill, instead of addressing the bill, what he did was he cried. All he wanted to do was to cry. Remember that? He wanted to march to bring down electricity. And instead of addressing the electricity issue, all he could tell us is he wanted to cry. We don't want to go back there. We don't want to go back there at all. We are not going back there.
Is the high cost of electricity. My mother, when I see some people bills, I want to cry. And me ain't gonna say it's because the what list. I believe it is because things were hard. And I empathize. And we got to do something about that.
Well, we have an opportunity to do something about that, to bring down the high cost of living. And one way is to proceed, and proceed expeditiously with our renewable energy projects. We've heard of wind, we have solar, we have the opportunity to build the largest solar farm in the Caribbean. What are the issues with it? I'm asking the question. I need some answers. Who has the answers? Someone said there may be problems, but I am not going to speculate. I am going to ask, what are the problems? The country must know, ought to know, should know, and the public sector, those in Skelec, must come and tell us what are the problems. Or if there is a problem, tell us what is the problem. Let us understand. But I, for my part, can't understand what is going on. The question in terms of increasing Skelec's generating capacity. The question is, what is the solution in the short run and long term to ensure that the energy needs of St. Kitts as a rapidly developing country is met in a reliable and economic way? How do? The process of change and transformation, I will repeat and repeat, is and must be a very public process. There must be no place to hide. It was a former United States ambassador to the United Nations from Pakistan, Leon Trotsky, who once declared that process is substance, the end is irrelevant. Speaking in the context of peace and security, Trotsky opined politics and statecraft, the outcome of negotiations is largely determined by the process adopted. Process defines the agenda, modalities, linkages, and pace of any negotiation or interaction. The final result is determined by the process and relative power of the parties that are involved. That's, again, my story, my straight dog family, and you better believe it. Just for an update though, in terms of the statistics, I have not to date have any statistics for today, but I must convey my sympathy to the family of the latest COVID casualty in terms of death. Deaths have now moved to 11. Confirmed cases, instant kits are now 1,541, and on Nevis 331. We are having peaks and balances, and people are still not heeding to the protocols. And I need, and I'm obligated to say that we have to get serious. We seem to have accepted that we are just going to be forced to do as we just do as we like. We are looking around us and we see what's happening in terms of mandatory vaccines as well. And I received a release from the Royal Police Force of Antigua and Barbuda, and it says Force Order or Standing Order number 1 of 2021, caption: mandatory vaccination of government employees. It reads, and I quote, "The Ministry of Health has advised that unvaccinated employees in the workplace pose a risk to the health and safety of all employees. Pursuant to the provisions of the Public Health Act, Dangerous Infectious Disease Amendment number 16, Regulations 81 number 85 of 2021, the regulations gazetted on the 17th day of September 2021. It is now a requirement for police officers to provide proof of approved vaccination against COVID-19 or an authorized exemption from the requirements to be vaccinated. It is government's responsibility, it continues, to ensure the health and safety of persons employed or performing any duty in the workplace, and as such, it is their duty to take reasonable care for the safety of all its employees. Consequently, all police officers are required to submit to the Commissioner of Police through the Human Resource Department the original COVID vaccination card. Police officers seeking an exemption from the requirement to be vaccinated must provide their department heads either 1, a medical certificate approved by the Chief Medical Officer or Medical Board, or 2, an exemption on religious grounds. Effective 1st October 2021, all police officers who have not provided proof that they have been vaccinated for COVID-19 or an exemption from vaccination in accordance with the regulations shall be considered to be on leave without pay. Please be advised that officers should communicate any change in their COVID-19 vaccination status through the Human Resource Department as soon as the information becomes available. An officer who is in possession of an exemption shall be required to provide a negative COVID-19 test to the Chief Medical Officer at the Ministry of Health headquarters once in every 14 days. Strict adherence to this standing order is hereby advised. Atlee P. Rodney, Commissioner of Police, signed and dated 23rd of September 2021. And we have heard what the Prime Minister, Gaston Brown, has said many times about vaccinations in Antigua and Barbuda. Are we different? What is happening in St. Kitts? Is it a concern to us as well? Those who are vaccinated, those of us who want to get home and visit our family and our friends. But it's Antigua, and that's not St. Kitts. But here.
That all public servants must get vaccinated or get tested at least twice monthly. Otherwise, you will not be eligible to enter into the workplace. And if you don't come to work, you cannot justify getting paid. And if you don't come to work after a period of time and you abandon your job, you lose your employment.
And that's Antigua and Barbuda. As I say, in St. Kitts, our numbers are going up and down. But fortunately though, the vaccine rate is also going up. But my straight dog family, we will wait and see. Caller, you're live.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, you're live.
No, Patrick. Hello?
Yes, you're live.
Concerning what you were just been speaking of, right? With these solar farms. You think it's right for anybody to come in here? They don't, it's like they're releasing the land, right? Whatever money they charge us to lease the land, they then add that into the charges of electricity. So then it's like they ain't paying us nothing, because the charge that we charge them, the money that we charge them for leasing our lands, they don't incorporate that into the price of the electricity. The land is ours. Almighty Creator God, yes, the sun every day, rain and a winter. Why we have to bring in foreigners? I'm saying that to go back into 1980, we had the cable. Cable came and sank it, right? Before cable came, you were watching ZZ with antenna. Until this day, up to this very day, you cannot put up an antenna and get ZZ, foreign investment. You can put up an antenna and get ABS and St. Martin, but not ZZ. You have to apply to cable to get ZZ. When we can eradicate that kind of stigma We cannot use the land because I can tell you something to it. Why we can't? The 4th of August. Are you listening? Hello?
Yes, I'm listening to your call.
I'm making certain you're still listening because I want the nation to know.
Yes.
The 4th of August 2017. It got something to do with the Federation, paying off the IMF. We was to have town hall meetings concerning what we're going to do with our sugar lands. That never ever did came about and continue. This news was on Win FM and it somehow miraculously they pull it. The governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank and the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Aaron Chassene, advised the rural administration of which you was a part of to go into agriculture. The food would have been traveling through Martinique and Guadeloupe and reaching up in France and up into Europe. It never came about. 2017, August the 4th. Then in September that same year, 2 Category 5 hurricanes, outer band winds, came and hit the Federation. How much acres of our land was sold without our consent? A lot of nastiness going on. Let me tell you something, right? Cash right tweet speaking. It's time enough that what's going on, stop. Time enough. Time totally enough. This thing here stop because big lawyers and all kind of people involved in this thing. And I'm going to ask you this question. You remember you had a man named James? A tall man. Very tall. He gave one here, he knock out. He used to go across to the police station and Mr. Bradshaw, if the man is not guilty, where's my eye? It's about almost 2 months since I called you concerning the matter concerning me being pepper sprayed. And up to this point in time, nothing has come about. Somebody in New York would have donate 100 US, me here nothing talk about that day. A lot of nastiness going on. It's like, hey, you're talking about the pandemic. Wear your mask, wear your mask. I went to assist an island constable to make certain English couple wear the mask. I get pepper sprayed and I told no, nothing. I lose X amount of money off my farm. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
That's right.
Hello.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?
I'm all ears.
Okay, are you aware? Or should I ask you, when was cable TV introduced in St. Kitts?
In the 80s. In the 80s. In the 80s.
In the 90s? Okay. Are you aware that
in the 80s,
up until sometime, I think it was last year before last, that government owned 69% shares in cable?
And St. Kitts in the 80s. Patty, don't be so.
Yeah, but I'm asking you, are you aware that the government, since in the 1980s, owned 69% shares in the cable?
So then, what? Okay. Why did then the locals and St. Kitts was not able to see the local channel without? Because they take down, they make us, okay, the antennas that we had up, right? When they implement the cable, the antennas was not able to pull ZZ. We had to apply at least give us our national television station, even a cost a simple amount, but then why did it was a compulsory for us to apply for the cable in order to see ZZ. And then I'll tell you something.
Because that was the government.
Then let me put a little more fuel in the fire. Cell phone came on. You receiving a call when flowers deal or cable and wireless was deal. You receiving a call, you had to pay for it. You ain't make the call. You ain't make the call. As much as you must be 51% shares in a set company, you ain't make the call. But you receive a call and money was coming off of your phone. You had to have money on your phone to receive a call. Foreign investment again. We cannot continue to hold on to foreign investors. Let us because I'll tell you something, right? If then cruise ships coming in St. Kitts and only a certain few could go down and make money, the next percentage of the people want to be able to go on the land that we paid for. We want to be able to go on the land that we paid for. There's water on the ground. Because you're talking this and you're talking that. There's a lot of water on the ground and it's not being exploited. We're not developing with people. I'll tell you something too, when one petition decides to vote against the rule administration, they bring in 5 and 10 different foreigners to go on the voters list to null out the one person. That is what's going on in St. Kitts. That is what's going on in St. Kitts. Since 1980, you got to from 1980 up to this present time. Douglas is guilty of it too. Who is that? Nothing.
Okay, got you loaded.
I want you to because you say the chief of police is a friend and Antonio can't get nothing to do with me oil.
Can you see? Well, Kashu, I trust that you have not lost your sight, like the man James you spoke about, the tall man from down there in, I think it's from Katiali or Shepherd Street. Yes, I remember him. If the man is not guilty, then where is my eye? I trust that your eyes were innocent. But in the 80s, he made the point, though, that had to be a government policy because government, when cable was launched, government had 69% of the shares, always had. And up until, I think, 2 years ago, government now has, I believe, 100% of all the shares. But let's go back to the lines, caller. But we thought we had that call, but those were the days. But in terms, you made a very important point about the foreigners, right? But really, I've heard that discussion, and really, it has no basis. I say so respectfully, and especially when it emanates, it comes from, it originates, I should say, from ex-politicians, former government ministers, who themselves invited foreign investment. But now they're saying certain projects should not be, or foreigners should be excluded from certain projects. Yes, electricity is a public good, but the investment, who is going to invest in it? Would they do? Caller, you're live.
Good night, Patches.
Good night, sir.
Yeah, good night, sir. Patches, I just have to tune into the program. I don't really understand about the geothermal thing you're talking about, energy and whatever. Because I just tune into the program and I never hear it good. I try to get in all the time and I can't, something wrong with the phone line or whatever. But Patches, you got some people in this country, and it seems like to me that they want the government to be the caretaker. This is the first time in any history, any administration, I see a government come in and try to help the ordinary man in this country, whether by COVID or whether by even before COVID, Patches. Because the Unity campaign said that they're going to give back sugar workers the money and everything, the balance of money where they didn't get under the farm administration and those things. Now we're hearing this guy calling, talking about pepper spray here and all kind of thing. And he nearly blowing and all kind of thing. This guy, when this guy calling me, this guy meeting me with almost every day and cussing me. I want to know a blind man get pepper spray and meeting people and can't cuss people and go on the farm. He say he can't get to go on the farm because he could not see any of them a bun here and all kind of thing. But Patches, every time I meet this guy tongue abuse him, he calling me all kind of dumbbell and all kind of thing. You understand? So these people just they want look like one handout from the government just like that. And what farm he talking about? I never see the guy in the market with no produce or selling nothing to no supermarket yet. So I just want to know what farm he come in talking about. Patches, I got a lot of things to say, you know. But again, some defeat back from the phone and so from the thing and so like he's talking back to me to the phone. So I will just try listen Thursday and come with what I want to come with. All right.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Politics, I do apologize for the issues we have with the telephone tonight, but I guess that has become part, unfortunately, a part of the Straight Talk experience. But we trust and hope in due course we will get these technical matters sorted out once and for all. We've always had this telephone problem. I wonder if it's not time to get updated as well with the telephone system. And I say so with no disrespect to anyone. Let's go back to the lines. Call you live.
Hey, Patrick. Hello? Patrick?
Yes, sir.
I want to rebut to the caller, right? Tell me don't get locked up 1991 for selling me own ground food and me hot peppers don't reach Canada. Me not go in the market. Me still go in the market to me mother buy things. In late 60s, early 70s, me not go in the market now. Me think them don't reach Canada. Good night. He went to school and he know he do.
Man is in the export market, Koshroy, that's good. Exporting your stuff. Yes, but we do apologize, but the phone now seems to start working all of a sudden. Call you live.
Good evening, Honorable Patel. I tried to get in, but I can't get in. But what I want to tell you, right? The houses them where you are just give, right? They build just like the other one than where they had. Because looking at them today, they need 4 windows, not 3 windows, because place hot and it's a wall house. And looking at the people them who were supposed to get the house them, only to somebody get the house them. Where the house them gone? I get all kind of people who know what in the area. But it's wrong. And in next election, I ain't going to win nothing there in Newton. Because Newton people is mourning because they ain't get the house them. And plus, looking at you all, politicians, you all got to stop telling lies. You all say I don't give the people them back the house, and you ain't give them back no house. Only to somebody again, and was $800 a month was for the house. And now it's 3, it's $650 a month for the house them. And then the bill out of slum. Much more mine when we have a $440 a month for we build out a wall, out of concrete and blocks. So I got to look after people good. All the politicians in my same. Labor from all of you tell to my lawyer. I can't take no more. So what I'm going to do? When I attack again, nobody tell me no. And looking at the bus terminal up there, they said that's the worst thing you ever give them because they can't make the passenger. Somebody was telling me so today when I went up my hospital to check out something. Since you know, give me the money and I back up with money with you. And I let them bang you because you ain't helping me. You're tired to my lawyer. Anyway, have a good night. And all what I said, Bob, said make a lot of money. And I supposed to fix up, said I said, not work down, said I said. Because the panic factory, it going bang, 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 because it good. Everything in the new. See you. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Did you just tell me? Did you just tell me that Labour politicians lie?
How are you? How are you? What politician?
Okay, that's my my dear. That's my Labour friend from down west. Are you still there?
Forget me things them. I'm not hungry. I say to the people them. I don't want to get the houses them. Who know the one you tongue? I just said down here, the politician down here say he go ahead to get land, people with land and house, and I'm telling nobody about.
Okay. All right, my dear. Well, that's my good Labour friend who said all politicians lie. I like to tell the truth. I like to tell the truth. So I don't want you to broad brush me. But here's one. It's 7 before 10 o'clock. And we have all types, different types. We have we have so many different people. They are greater, they are lesser, but we never compare ourselves. And straight up, everybody is equal. Everybody has a voice. Even my good Labour friend Casilda from down west. I like her. Matter of fact, I should go beyond that. I love her. She said I haven't sent the barrel for her, but I believe I will surprise her. Take my word, I will surprise her for Christmas. And Casilda, you have to give me your address and your right name so I can get the barrel to you. Right? So next time you call, tell me your right name and your address so I can get that barrel for you for Christmas. You hear me say that publicly, and I normally keep my word. It may not be a big barrel, but it may be enough to bite you over the Christmas cinder. But here's what. It's 5 before the 10 o'clock hour. Yes, we had some technical difficulties with the telephone, so we didn't have the normal dialogue. But that's okay. We had a good time together. I looked at the theme for our general debate of the 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly. But here's what. It's 5 before 9. I'll go back to the lines. Caller, you're live.
When again to the live, the patch is not even.
Beg pardon, you're live.
Hello, good night.
Good night, my dear.
Good night, my love. How are you? How are you, my love?
I am wonderful. I'm better, you?
No, you never lied to me yet. You was always truthful to me. See, I driving in style and I sleeping in style. I don't care what I say. I love you, bad. Take care of yourself out there. Come back home to me. And the rest of us in one piece. You have a good evening. Ian Patches. This is the woman. You love bad. I love you, bad Patches. I love you, bad.
Okay. I hope you're taking care of yourself. Okay. You heard that. You heard that vote of confidence from Taylor's there, my dear friend. Caller, you're live.
Akira need to look for she people them. Akira ain't doing a shit for she people them, but
Okay, we seem to have lost a caller. Didn't quite understand what you were saying, but perhaps you will call back and just take your time, and be careful as well with the language. It borders on profanity, and we have to be careful because remember the whole world is listening to you, and all ages are listening to you, especially younger ones. We have to set a good example. But as we wind down tonight's programming, I spoke to the upcoming COP26, which is the 2021 United Nations Climate Change Conference. And for nearly 3 decades, the UN has been bringing together almost every country on the earth for global climate summits called COPs, which in fact stands for the Conference of the Parties. In that time, climate change has gone from being a fringe issue to a global priority. And this year will be the 26th annual summit, giving it the name COP26, to be held in Glasgow over a period I think is November 1 to 12. To understand why it's necessary to look back to another COP, we can reflect on COP21, which is the Paris Agreement in 2015. And St. Kitts and Nevis did in fact sign that agreement in Paris in 2015. And for the first time, something momentous happened back then, when every country agreed to work together to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees and aim for a 1.5 degrees to adapt to the impacts of changing climate and to make money available to deliver on these aims. The Paris Agreement was born back then with that commitment. Many lives were lost and many livelihoods were damaged as a result of the degree of warming of this earth. And under the Paris Agreement, countries committed to bring forward national plans, setting out how much they would reduce their emissions, known as Nationally Determined Contributions, or NDCs. And the St. Kitts and Nevis NDC, I believe, can be found in our own national energy policy. And the key provisions of this policy include connecting large-scale independent power providers and many distributed renewable energy systems to the electrical grid. However, the national energy policy requires that all suppliers procure a license before generating electricity. The license cannot extend beyond 25 years. We looked at the clean energy policy environment as well. The key provisions of this include connecting larger scale independent power providers and many distributed renewable energy systems, again I said, to the electrical grid. Now the former administration talked plenty, but did little. But St. Kitts and Nevis, I believe, still has opportunities for clean energy transformation. And I say so because we are blessed with wind. We are blessed with sunshine. and we are blessed with 2 volcanoes. I know that some of the things I said tonight would have displeased some people, and for that I humbly apologize. But I always have difficulty in massaging the truth while I'm here, in particular on Straight Talk. A Straight Talk gives an opportunity to talk the truth. But just be prepared at times. I always forewarn you to stand alone. The truth is, I do not believe that some in the public or some people inside and outside of the public sector, I do not believe they have the appetite to adapt, diversify, and recreate, which was our theme for Independence 38. We looked at the energy policy, we looked at SCELEC, and we looked at our ability to supply cheaper electricity to consumers. And one way is through renewable energy development. There will be cost savings and general savings in foreign exchange, because it is factual. Between 2015 and 2018, SCELEC spent approximately $300 million to purchase fuel. $300 million. Believe it or not, nigh $300 million. So, if we reduce the use of fossil fuel, we not only eliminate the drastic fluctuation in oil prices, but we will have enormous cost savings for the company. We will have reduced maintenance costs. Because SCELEC just in 2019 spent $94 million on the maintenance of its engines. The replacement costs for these age generators was approximated at $65 million. So here we have a project. No matter what they say about foreign investment or foreigners investing, where would you find $70 million US with no capital outlay required of the government and or SCELEC? And you have a modern, technical, advanced solar plant. No capital outlay for government.
To the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, what does it really mean? It means that we will power your homes in the night with solar energy, your air conditioners, your tourist resorts, your hotels, your businesses. We will do so in a way that Le Creuset and his investment partners, we will fund the complete project. In other words, SCELEC will not to put any upfront capital investment. The people of St. Kitts and Nevis get access to clean, green energy without SCELEC putting any upfront capital investment.
And yes, you've heard for years in the former administration boast about having clean, green energy. But that was only talk. Now is the time to put action to the top. Electricity produced will be integrated into the SCELEC grid on the flat rate, a flat rate 20-year power purchase agreement. It will decrease diesel import by 4 million gallons per year. And no matter what they say, a Switzerland-based public limited company with a heritage of over 100 years in battery and energy storage. Where else can you find a deal like that? And I say, in parting, the process of change and the process of transformation must be a very public process. There should be no place to hide. Let us know what is happening. That's the way I'm going to leave you. That's my story. And I'm going to ask you to better believe it. I thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight, and as always, I thank you who joined me on social media. Those who called, I apologize for the issues we had with our telephones. A little dormant tonight. Let's trust and hope come Thursday we'll have an improvement. Those of you who listen, the men who just listen to Radio ZIZ, for you or to you, I say a big, big thank you. Happy birthday again to Paulette Samuel and my good brother Bungo. Thank you to Alva Bradley in the hot seat there on the console. Don't you move your dial, but he comes up next. Thank you to Bevan Wilkerson and John James in the boiler room. Without them, there's no Straight Talk. Thank all of you. You are the ones as well who make Straight Talk. And for that reason, I say a big, big thank you. I am Ian Patches Liburd, and God spare, we will connect on Thursday for another edition of Straight Talk. Until we connect, be good to yourselves and to all whom we meet. And remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But you better believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Thursday. Be good to yourselves.
I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. That I will achieve, because I do the things I should, between my brethren kind and good. So I'll keep moving on.
Whether it's a dress store on 4th Street, a snacket in Cayon, or a village grocery in St. Paul's, our small businesses play an important role in our economy.